There are two reasons why you might not have a fitted basic sleeve. One of them is not taking proper body measurement, and the second one is not drafting the measurements correctly on your pattern paper. Now, the first one have been solved in the tutorial that I gave, taking proper body measurements. The second one is going to be solved in this tutorial. I am going to show you how to draft a basic sleeve that can sit properly in your hand without having elbow tightness and all of that, okay? So if you're a new subscriber, you're welcome to my channel. I teach every beginner how to sew from scratch the easy way. And if you're an old subscriber, thank you for subscribing and welcome back. So in today's tutorial, like I said, I am going to be showing you how to draft a simple basic sleeve, but in a way that looks easy and still eliminates those tightness in your elbow. Now let's get right into it. So now the measurement that we're going to be using for this tutorial include the upper arm. The upper arm is the part of the arm that is below your armhole. We have the mid arm, which is below your upper arm, and then after that we have the lower arm, which is above your elbow. And then we have the 3/4 followed by the wrists. You do understand that your arm, right, your sleeve is not straight. It has these curves, okay? So you cannot have a straight sleeve. That is the reason we are going to be drafting them out. So let's start first by determining our cap's height. Now the cap's height is that part of your sleeve that sits on the shoulder. Now we're going to go ahead to determine our cap's height. So the formula for finding your cap's height is the bust measurement divided by 12 plus 1. So my bust measurement right here is 30, okay? 30 divided by 12, whatever I have here, which is 2.5, okay, is going to be plus 1. And that is going to give me 3.5. So I place my tape right here and I am going to be measuring 3.5. In that 3.5 that I measured, I am going to draw a line, a straight line, okay? So this is where our cap's height is going to sit on. Now, at this point right here, you're going to also measure 3.5 inches. Now, right after doing that, the next thing I am going to do is to find the midpoint between this cap's height, okay? So I'm going to place the tape as so, and I am going to fold it together like this. Whatever I get is the midpoint, all right? So I'm going to be marking our midpoint. Now that midpoint I determine is where our curve is going to be, all right? I hope you understand. I am going to use a free hand. I'm going to be drafting this. Now from the beginning point right here, I am going to make some dots. Now the reason I'm making that dot is so that I would get an accuracy. And I'm going to get to this point where I had my midpoint. From there, I am going to curve into the armhole. So the cap's height basically has been done. So when I know that I have done this, the next thing I'm going to do is to just draw a bold curve following what I had drafted. So at this point, I have drafted out my cap's height. Okay. Now, after that, the next thing I am going to do is to place my tape across and mark all the heights that we have. Okay. I'm going to be marking the length of my sleeve. And this is the measurement we're using. So the upper arm is 5 inches, right? Then we have the mid arm, which is 8 inches. The lower arm, which is 11 inches. The 3/4, which is 14 inches, and of course the wrist, which is 17.5 inches. So I'm going to use my ruler right here, and I am going to mark the line so they will be visible for us to place our measurement. Now I am done drafting out the lines, and if you notice, these lines are more than the usual basic sleeve lines that we have. This is because each lines represent the curves of your arm. So now the next thing I am going to do is to place my round measurements across these vertical measurements, all right? So I'll start first with my cap's height. What I'm going to do is to measure my round armhole and then divide whatever you have by 2. So I had 14 for myself. I am going to divide it by 2, and what I have is 7 inches. Now, for the 7 inches, what you're going to do is to place it as so, okay? So I'm going to be placing my tape across this curve like so, and whatever I have. So this point, I'm going to mark my 7 inches at this point, okay? So when I mark my 7 inches, I am going to add an extra ½ inch allowance. Now, if you're marking this on your fabric, make sure you add 1 inch, or if you're okay with half, you can add ½ inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my ½ inch right here. Now I am going to go down and I am going to place my upper arm measurement. So for upper arm, I had 11 inches divided by 2, okay? Remember, all your measurements are divided by 2. So I'm going to place it right here and I will have 5. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the upper arm for the rest of the measurements. Now, after doing that, I am going to pick my ruler right here and I am going to join this with a curve, okay? So I'm done placing all the measurements, and the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it out. But in case you're drafting this on your fabric, do not forget to add at least ½ inch around. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Now, after drafting my long sleeve, I am going to go ahead and show you how to draft a short sleeve. It's almost the same formula, right? The only difference is that for a short sleeve, it's shorter than that of a long sleeve. So I'm going to just place my pattern paper as so, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing I did for the long sleeve. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to determine where I want my short sleeve to stop. So in this case, I want my short sleeve to stop at 8 inch, okay? So I'm going to be marking my 8 inches right here, okay? So I'm going to use my ruler to draw a straight line. Now, after drawing the straight line, I am going to go ahead and place my cap's height measurement, all right? And I'm going to place my 3.5 inches right here. So basically, this is my 3.5 inches. I'm going to use my ruler and, like I did before, and then extend the line, okay? Then place my 3.5 inches right here, and then find the midpoint like I did earlier. Then I am going to connect that to find the curve, all right? Now, after doing that, I am going to place my measurements, all right? So in this case, you do not need to be placing all the measurements again because my 8 inches is on the mid arm. So that is where I want my sleeve to stop. So it actually depends. If your short sleeve is taking to your elbow, you would as well place your lower arm measurement. But in this case, the only measurement I need is the end of the sleeve measurement, okay? So I would just go ahead and I would place that around. So it was 9.5 inches I had right here. So I'll just go ahead right here and I'll place my 9.5 inches divided by 2. So I had about 4.7 inches. So I would place it right here. Okay. Remember that I had used my tape to find the curve. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. Use your tape to find where your 7 inches is. I added an extra ½ inch allowance. Okay, I'm going to add an extra ½ inch right here and I will connect them to meet up with each other. Now I already have my short sleeve ready to cut, okay? So I'm going to go ahead right here and I will cut out my short sleeve. So this is it for my short sleeve and my long sleeve, right? So basically this is how to cut your short sleeve and your long sleeve. Now this method will make sure that everything about your sleeve fits perfectly the way it is supposed to fit. If this tutorial was helpful to you, do not forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the notification bell as well, so that whenever I post anything, you'll be the first to see. Bye.